Hey guys, it's Ryan Fowler here from my home studio in Nashville, Tennessee. Wanted to show you how you can make your own quarantine collaboration video with a bunch of different split screens, cool animations, using nothing but the Split Pop plugin from Stupid Raisins and a free trial version of Final Cut Pro. So let's get into it. So I've opened up a sample project here in Final Cut Pro, and what we're going to do is the first thing, I've already imported my audio file, and I'm using that as the basis for everything else because we want our musicians to obviously match up with the audio that they're playing. I used a WAV file because if you bounce out an MP3 and put it in here, you're going to end up with some video drifting because of the compression settings that MP3s have. So use the WAV file, and I've already put the drum video and the guitar video in so that they line up with the audio. Now what I want to do is go up here to my tiles. Under Split Pop, I'll be able to pick which one of these really cool creative animations, and two screens kind of gives you a preview of what that animation will look like when it comes in and out. So I'm going to use this one, pull it down, and decide what length it is. Let's just go ahead and say that that's the length that I want. And then I am finding, since these are all lined up, I'm going to make sure that whatever clip I want in one of those sections is the exact length. That's the first tip. So I'm using the blade tool here on the drums, the blade tool on guitar. And then what I'm going to do is click on the downtown, the first one, downtown drums, new compound clip. Call this drums. Same thing with the other clip that we want in that. New compound clip. We'll say guitar. And then we'll click on our plugin at the top. And then over here, we've got our published parameters. And obviously you can choose however you want, your animations, if you want the line to exist. And I'll get into some of this just a second, but I want to show just for the first part of the video how to actually really use this. Here's our second big tip. When we go to drop zone 1, shows us that's going to be the left of your screen. And I want that to be, let's say I want that to be the guitar. First thing that I want is I want down here, as soon as that cursor turns into the select, that's when I hit it. And then we go up, apply clip, cool. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the drop down zone 2 over here in parameters. Hit that, it's selecting source clip, what do we want? So I'm over here, I'm gonna wait until that just changes, hit apply clip. So now I'm gonna go ahead and let the audio come back on. And then when it's done, you see the animation afterwards. Something else that you can do within this split clip is, let's say I want, I want a better view of the drums. I'm going to change this around. Over here in my parameters, go ahead and change if I want that to be a little bit more focused on a certain part of the screen, because the center of what you recorded might not be the center of what you want to see in this view. So once that you have that, that's the basic school of thought that you need for all of these. That's it. Now you've learned how to do it. I'm going to open up the other project, which is the initial downtown video. Now here's the big thing with this, is that I'm sure all of this looks terrible and tacky, but I'm an audio guy. I am not a video guy. So anything that you're seeing up here is because I'm not really sure how to do anything else. And this was my hacking way through of making this video possible. I've got over 100 video elements in this single music video. So let's go ahead and start at the top. I'm going to keep the volume off just so you can kind of see how I was using these. So right now we're not using any of the split pops. This is just simple split and crop and transform of Tyler playing guitar lower corner, Barry on bass in the top, and then an empty downtown Nashville shot. And all of those are just right over here on my viewer, just like normal clips. So then we're 3 seconds in, we already get our first one, which is the same or very similar view of what I just showed you how to make. And I did the same thing. If you look down here, you can see where those are lined up, even have that split at the very end. What I did in order to make something a little bit more interesting is you can see that I keep my shot on top of that. If I took that out, all you would see is just the animation. And I do the same thing again with my buddy Josh. Just go ahead and put him on top because that's where I decided I wanted that. So that's not a separate animation. It just allows you to build on top of the animations that you already have with Split Pop. Once we get to the end of that animation, those are all just real quick shots. Get into another Split Pop, which is our 3 right. And once we get into this shows what we can do, a little trick that I just figured out. So instead of having just one shot in that section, if you leave up the white lines as guides, you can actually just crop and transform clips to fit in there so it looks like one of them is changing without having to reanimate or rebounce the entire thing if you want just one changed. So I use this for our guys just dancing. On the right, we've got Ryan Barnett, we've got Boba Fett, Tim, Casey, and all those were, if you look down here, is I just decided when those stops would happen and made sure that they were on top of my Split Pop. And just cropped them to be the same size and use those white lines as a guide. So once we get into more of these, we've got a change that's happening here, and all I'm doing is using the Split Pop on a vertical thirds, but I'm doing the same thing, making changes out with different videos that I've decided those are going to be the ones that I want in those sections. And all I did again was just trim, crop, and transform, put those into those sections and make sure that they were the same size and weren't going over the grid lines. Which, at the very end of this clip, you'll see we got a girls dancing, and then it stays the same for Homeboy singing to bring us into our normal view. So I've just used the quarters Split Pop to move the 4 instrumentalists on the track to the corners, and then I'm using the center on top of this. I'm actually just putting his video there. If we take that out, you can see that there's another video behind it, but once we've got this actually playing, you can't tell that I've moved those videos out of the way. So it kind of helps you hide some flaws if you don't want to have to edit crazy stuff and you want to get certain views in on those sections. What I did to get into that, as we start, you see how that middle section opens up. I'm going to go frame by frame. Middle section opens up. Oh, I've got it. All right, here we go. The middle section is actually going to open up to itself. And how I did that was, again, I just took wherever that split ended and I had that come in above. So you can kind of see when that is actually changing out. It's not as close of an edit, but it makes it feel like that's staying the same. Meanwhile, the other split animation is happening to open up to those 4 quarters over there. So that's just a cool trick that you're able to get a different feel or animation. And I use that throughout the video. You'll probably be able to spot different times when I do that. The last little trick that I've got is being able to use those animations on top of one another. So once we get into this huge section over here, the breakdown section where I had everybody dancing, and I wanted to be able to have everybody in the video, but I didn't want it to just be, you know, the 9 screen option. I wanted to do something a little bit different. Go ahead and use this vertical 6th, and then I use a pinwheel on top of that. So obviously my computer's trying to keep up with having over 100 video elements in one project. But now we see there's that, and switch to a pinwheel on top, and then that's the animation that opens up to regular views. And then all the way down here on the bottom, remember when I had those that first recording of just the drums and just the guitar? We're gonna go ahead and use that on the bottom here as kind of like, that's our B-roll. If we ever need to go back to something, we can, and that's going to be in our quarters view with all of the players in the top 4 corners, and then have people's iPhone videos, which I asked them to send me in portrait, so that I knew that since the majority of them were using iPhones, they would be in the same size. So I just used those as, all right, this is when his section is, and then I knew that I had those quarters playing behind it. So you can use those animations on top of each other, and then also use the quarters, or however many musicians you have, or whatever you want as your baseline. Use that as a way to build on top of it or make something else happen. So at the end of that, we get our cool pinwheel one of everybody dancing around. Gives you an option to go from these different screen settings. Are really cool because you can have landscape and portrait shots, because I got a few guys that sent me landscape stuff, so I'm not going to have them redo something for me. It's just, all right, let's deal with it. So those are all the tricks, I guess, that I figured out, and how I was able to use this. Remember, start with your audio first, make it a wave, create some bass takes, or know where those videos are going to be lined up to that audio file, and then make sure that whenever you decide what split pop screen animation you want in there, or how you want that split up, you put that down, decide on your length, and then cut whichever videos you want in those different screens to the exact length as the split pop plugin that you just put in, and then make a compound clip, and then just click the drop zone that you want that in, and make sure you click at the very beginning of the clip. Everything else just lines up, and you can use those animations on top of each other. You can use them to kind of hide something that's behind the video, or put a video on top of it and include that with whatever animation is happening also. Hopefully that kind of helps out. If there's anything that I didn't cover or wasn't clear about, feel free to reach out. Also wanted to give a huge shout out and thanks to Dylan over at Stupid Raisins, because he was gracious enough to let me use this plug-in for free, which I think made the video. And I had so many people reach out already just asking how I was able to do that on a free trial version of Final Cut. So again, not a video guy. This is just how I came up with it. I'm sure I've got a bunch of different mess ups and screw ups and bad edits, but you're welcome to look at the video and see what you think about it, and see where you can find all the different animations from the split pop things, and find out all the little tricks that I just explained, because they're all over that video. Hope you guys have a good one. Keep creating. Happy quarantine.